not, let's go ahead and rock and roll. Let's just make sure that I need to admit anybody else in here. Bingo with that. We got top of the hour, so why not? Let's go ahead and rock and roll. Just all right. There we go. Let's see. Here's this, and we're ready to go. All right. Cool. Okay. Before I get going, I know the elephant in the room. Obviously, we're starting today with a pretty heavy heart. I wanted to say that my heart goes out to especially you, Bill, that's on the call right now, and then also everybody else. We're all dealing with some stuff that we don't exactly didn't exactly think we were going to be dealing with yesterday at about lunch. So keep the rest of Fritzy's family in your prayers. Obviously, Steve #1 first, but that's something that we're gonna figure out, and we're gonna forge forward. We're gonna miss the hell out of her because she's probably one of the most fantastic women I've ever been in contact with. And so wanted to start that off with just sort of a little reflection on her, and also just let you guys know that there's nothing that we're not going to be here for. Okay. And I'm looking right square at you, Bill, and all the rest of us. So that's a thing we're going to do all we can to come out of this stronger, better, and figure out some way to carry on what she left behind. So we're here for you. That being said, I had some things prepared the other day, and it really struck me, and I hope you guys don't mind if I go on a little bit of a rant to start with, because I was struck by this, and obviously to Annie, I'm not forgetting about you. I know you want to hop on and do and give a talk, but I've got a thing to talk about that I saw yesterday from Suze Orman, if anybody's familiar with her. So I'm going to let Annie, before I get too far in the weeds, I'm going to let you talk. I'm happy that you're here this morning, and so take it away. I'm going to give you the floor for right now.
Hey, y'all, my internet keeps going out. So if I just disappear, I'm really sorry. I don't know what's going on with it. And I'm sorry, as Richard said as well, about everything that's going on, especially for those who are closest to Fritzy. But I just wanted to hop on and remind y'all about a couple things. We've got Nelson and Galbraith opened 2 new offices, and a lot of people aren't aware of that. So just wanted to make sure y'all knew that happened. I guess probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, they opened one in Anderson. So if you have any late clients, that's really convenient. If they don't want to drive into town or they want to be close to the house, they're closing on Anderson is a little bit better. And then also they opened one on Butler Road. So for anybody purchasing homes in Simpsonville or Five Forks, Fountain Inn, that is a great option. Also just have had a couple questions about pay at the table lately. If we are still doing that, realtors are allowed to go back to closings now. They're still required you to wear masks and hand sanitize and all that. Don't feel like you have to be there. You can certainly do what you need to do to stay safe, but all the offices are taking lots of precautions as far as cleaning and everything. Pay at the table, we've had questions about, does that automatically happen even if you're not using Twin Oaks? So if you're doing a new build, ton of the new home builders close with Nelson and Galbraith, and C.Dan Joyner's default payment for Nelson and Galbraith is pay at the table. So if you don't want that, it's no big deal. You just need to let the paralegal that you're working with know, I'd prefer to be paid normally and not pay at the table, and they can fix it. Don't forget about hotline. We've had a lot of people using it. And then also for escrow, it's been working out great for you or your clients to drop checks at Nelson and Galbraith, but if for some reason you can't do that, you're still welcome to take it to the North Pleasantburg office or to your broker. And I've been working with some of them to pick up those checks. So I just wanted to remind y'all about some of that stuff. If anybody has any questions about any of it, please don't hesitate to ask or email me. I'm here to
Can I ask
help.
a quick question?
Yeah.
For some reason, I do a lot of stuff at Nelson and Galbraith, but for some reason, I got in my mind, maybe I'm incorrect, that we needed to start having the checks made out to Nelson Galbraith and not Twin Oaks Title.
We do. So that's a great question. And a lot of people are were already making them out to Nelson and Galbraith, and some people weren't. But the reason for that is if you're using another closing attorney and we're just holding escrow, it just makes that transition a little bit easier because technically Twin Oaks just sort of is getting the business to Nelson and Galbraith. So sometimes it can be confusing for closing attorneys when they're trying to hunt down escrow checks. So they'll call me and I get them in touch with somebody, which is fine. But just to sort of streamline things and make sure there's no confusion, when we're trying to get escrow to a different attorney, we've been asking people to have them made out to Nelson and Galbraith. But if either way is honestly fine, it's just, for the ease of that.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I think you really need to pump up the fact that you got the new web portal, because I've had my last 2 closings. My clients have used the online escrow deposit thing.
Yeah, that's been great too.
Their debit card or their credit card. And it saved a whole bunch of running around, and my clients love it. They just jumped online, and one dude put it on his Amex and got Sky Miles points.
That's awesome. I sent out a video that Nathan did. It was probably about a month ago, but I'll resend it to everybody. They do have an online portal now where your clients can pay escrow, which makes it super easy for everybody. And I know that, for DocuSign or for our accounting department, they like to have a copy of the escrow check. So what usually happens is, I did this with Bill recently. His client paid online, and then I get a copy of the deposit receipt, and I just forwarded it to you, and then you can put it in your DocuSign.
Stick it right in the DTR, and it's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you for reminding me about that. I will resend that information because it is really helpful, and a lot of people have been using it.
And also too, just to piggyback off of that, Bill, I'm glad you made that point. Also too, and I know that Nelson and Galbraith uses this as well, but there are a bevy of other attorneys closing attorneys in Greenville that use the Earnest app. Mm-hmm. So write this down for anybody that wants to look into it. You can't get it native from the App Store or on iTunes, or for Android users. Jennifer and Keith, I'm not trying to shame you for using Android phones, but it is actually not a latent app. You go to app.earnest, but it's Earnest with 2 N's. So earnest.com/agent, and then enter your email address. That will prompt you the ability to be able to request via app the earnest money to be directly sent to Nelson and Galbraith.
And I could be wrong about this, but I know when we first started using the Earnest app, it was actually months and months ago, but it is kind of confusing when you're trying to get it onto your phone. It's not super
setting up, because what you got to do, and I can send a thing, basically what you need to do, it'll open on the web. Mm-hmm. And so what you need to do is just bookmark one and make it an icon on your phone's desktop.
And we have a like how-to on Earnest. I can share that with y'all too. But I think, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure when we first started using that, if people did want to use it, we were having the paralegals kind of help them, or our escrow manager reach out to clients if they were struggling to figure it out. And the new online portal for Nelson and Galbraith, you literally just go to their website and it tells you to pay earnest money. And
I love the way that portal looks, Annie. It hems up all the issues that we can have, all the other moving parts. It just takes one more thing away.
Yeah, and for out of town clients and everything, it makes things really easy, not having to overnight checks and stuff like that. So
absolutely. And for those that are super skittish about wiring and wire fraud right now, mm-hmm. that removes another layer of uncertainty as well.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see all of y'all. I just wanted to remind you about some things and let me know if y'all need anything.
On a happy note, congratulations, Annie.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're so excited for you.
Thank you.
Diesel's got competition now.
Yeah, she's gonna be a great big sister. She was really excited. So we're excited.
How you feel?
I feel good. I'm
Good.
over the hump, I think. So now hopefully it'll be easy for the next few months, but I'm not due till December, so got a little while.
That'll be good Christmas.
Yeah, it's December 27th, so it is really, really pushing it for Christmas. We'll see what happens there.
That's mine and David's 40th anniversary.
Oh, really? Oh, well, it's a good day then. Hopefully it'll be born.
Yeah.
And not on Christmas. We'll see. But thank you so much.
That's for real efficient birthday and Christmas gifts too, by the way.
That's true.
Not bad timing.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. Well,
thank you much. You can feel free to stay on if you want to, but I know you've got a lot of stuff to get to. So just whatever works for you. Okay.
I'll probably be listening, but I might get off the video so I can get some other things done. But good to see y'all.
You got it. Thank you, Annie.
Bye.
Yeah. So this thing about Suze Orman, it came out the other day, and I really wanted to touch on it because obviously this is something that, well, the other day, I mean, it was just slightly before the 4th of July holiday. And I don't know if anybody has seen this yet. I'm like a show of hands if anybody has seen this article that Suze Orman put out on her site. Okay, long story short, I mean, everybody's familiar with Suze Orman, right? I mean, she's an investment guru along the lines of just whatever she says becomes gold, right? Well, there's a lot of people that have a very, very, very big platform right now that just say things and it causes people to react. I mean, we see that from socio-political to, interpersonal relationships. There's just people with a very big microphone and a very big platform that say things and other people just feel as if it may in fact be gospel, right? And with the case of Suze Orman's thing, so I'm just going to try and truncate this just to preface what I was going to talk about. I had a recording last week about thoughtful outreach during COVID and how to market yourself in a time of opportunity, blah, blah. I kind of threw it in the trash after I saw this, just because it gave me pause. One, the only thing that we can really dictate right now is the numbers, the market numbers, what we're seeing and what we can actually do to effect education into the marketplace. Because really right now, we don't need a whole bunch of people just running around giving their opinions. Facts matter. Facts are facts. They're indisputable. And the way that Suze Orman, she made a post, and so essentially the gist of it is that Suze Orman is trying to equate this year and the unemployment spike, the numbers plus the epidemic that we're dealing with, and all of the other social unrest, all of these other variables. She's trying to equate all of those trickle-down effects onto the economy with 2007 and 2008. And as soon as she started with that, I had to pause because you guys, can you tell me what is similar about this in 2007 and 2008? Because she lost me on that one, because there is nothing that's similar about 2007 and 2008 right now. 2007 and 2008 was a flummox of the mortgage banking and securities industry, on top of the fact that we were overbuilt, over-leveraged, and oversupplied in the housing market, that caused a whole lot of other people to have bills come due that they couldn't pay in the terms of trillions of dollars. Suze Orman's trying to equate this right now and the forbearance and mortgage payment assistance, the PPP loans, all that stuff coming to roost starting July 1st. Well, some of those things are actually being rolled back, but that's beyond this. That's outside the scope of this. So what she's saying is essentially warning people that want to buy a house to say that if she were trying to buy a house, which, oh, by the way, she's not trying to buy a house, she would wait until at least October or November, or maybe wait until the beginning of 2021 to buy a house, because we're about to see a big uptick in foreclosures and REO sales. I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't mean to gloss over the fact that there are a lot of people that are hurting and that are benefiting very much so from paid unemployment assistance, PPP loan, any of the government assistance that's needed right now. I understand. What I don't understand is her corollary between 2007 and 2008 to say that now all of a sudden we're going to be flux with foreclosures and REO sales. I'm not saying it can't happen, because shoot, at the end of this month, we could be looking at a completely different gorilla. But right now, all I know is the numbers. And so what's different between 2007 and 2008? The reason why I say this is because a lot of people are probably going to read this, because again, I said she's got a very big microphone, and more than likely you're going to have clients that ask you about this. So what does it mean between now and 2007, 2008? Well, right now in the United States, you have 37% of home ownership across the United States, 37%, think about that number, free and clear from their mortgage, which means that close to 40% of the housing market has no possibility of foreclosure. None, zero. In the Greenville market, it's closer to 40. It's almost 38.5% of people own their home free and clear. Over 50% of the United States has more than 40% equity in their home. Those are facts. What does that mean? It means that even if people are unable to, let's say, like we talked about, almost 85% of the job loss that has been incurred is temporary. About 15% of that job loss is going to be permanent. Those people eventually are, once the economy does eventually get rolling again, those people will be able to find employment. But 85% of those folks are already back to work. Yes, the PPP assistance was, or PUA assistance was giving them more money than they were actually taking in on a general basis, but the statistics also showed that Americans on a general basis were saving 46% more money than they ever have before in history. That doesn't look like people are not going to be able to pay their mortgages. I'm not saying it's impossible, but the way that it looks right now, there were so many folks in 2007 and 2008 that had little to zero equity that cashed all the equity out in times of hardship, which that happens. But there was so little home equity in home ownership at that period in time, because most of it was spec building. We were overbuilt and there was too much supply, and we had a price increase of almost 10.5% per quarter in some areas. Right now, we've got over half of America is 50% in equity. There's equity to be had. I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm not saying that taking equity out of your home is a good idea, but there's equity to play with. It doesn't mean that we're going to see this meteoric rise in foreclosures and REO sales right now. The next thing is that there's just not enough inventory. If you're in a sticky situation right now, it is in fact a great time to buy or sell real estate. So if you're in a sticky situation, sometimes being that voice of education, that voice of reason, rather than saying, oh, everything's going to go REO and foreclosures. Maybe just maybe helping people find options if they're in a position of trouble. That's where you can really stick your neck out and help people that are in need of help right now. And what does that look like? Right now in Greenville, since we all missed our Friday market update, currently 2,249 units sit on the market active in GGAR. You got 759 new listings came on the market in June that still remain active. There are 273 new listings beginning from July 1st. That's a promising sign because we're moving upward. What that actually equates to in terms of months available of supply, days on market, and average sales price, which is really the only three things we really need to worry about, right? Days on market in the beginning of June, the end of May, ticked down from 60 to 55. Right now, guess where we are? Sitting at 45. Average sales price from June ticked up from $272,800 to just over $276,000. That is 3% month over month from February. Solid. Every single month, we are still seeing a decrease in days on market, a decrease in new available inventory, and a decrease on available months in supply. What is 2,249 available units with 45 days on the market? Let's be conservative. Let's go to 52 days. Let's just say, for example, it takes a little bit longer to sell houses. You're still looking at 2.5 months of inventory. In 2007, 2008, we were looking at 11 or 12, almost a year's worth of inventory. And now we're close to the same amount of equity that American homeowners have in their homes right now. I'm not saying that this is all good times, but what I'm saying is that there are a lot of people that have very strong opinions and very loud voices that might not necessarily be looking at the facts. They might be looking at the implication of the facts. They might be looking at the opinions, because what they're paid for is to give their opinion. Another thing that Suze Orman said that really struck me, and it was in the context of foreclosures. She said, so say, for example, you're in a neighborhood and your house, you just bought a house for $300,000. And this is the reason why she gives for why I'm not going to buy a house, because I'm afraid that a foreclosure might happen down my street. Foreclosures happen all the time down streets. But her logic behind this was, let's say you buy a house for $300,000. Then the person down the street from you, they go into foreclosure. The bank takes it and it sells at a foreclosure sale for $150,000. By her logic, she says, now your house is worth $150,000 and somebody's going to come in and try and pay you $150,000 for the house. Is there anybody on this call that has ever heard of one sale at foreclosure affecting the entire rest of the marketplace in terms of the way that an appraiser views a house or the way that a lending institution views a house? I can see from the shaking heads that she might not really know how our industry works. She knows how investments work. She might not know how our industry works, and that there are a lot of different moving parts. A house that sells for $150,000 doesn't mean that the $300,000 house down the street isn't still worth $300,000. And it's indicative in these numbers right here. It's indicative of that. So I just wanted you guys, it's another prime example of, you know, right now, like, let's go back and talk about one of the guys from Shark Tank a couple of months ago said, right now is the time of opportunity for making it was Mark Cuban is exactly who it was said that it was time right now to make lowball offers on houses. I don't see lowball offers on houses right now. I don't. And while I can't predict the future, it's why I bring this up and why it got me so riled up to see this was simply the fact that right now there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of uncertainty, high tension, emotions, just being that person that says, you know, that's really interesting. And I saw that too. You know, it's funny that Susie says that because here are the facts. And here's how I can say right now, what she's saying, I think I can understand her viewpoint, but she's investing in so many other things. And she's really paid to talk and give an opinion. And everybody's got an opinion. Not everybody's got access to the facts of what's going on right now here in Greenville, South Carolina. So here are the facts of what's actually happening. And to see if there's some way forward to educate and be that voice of reason and knowledge, as opposed to somebody that would go, oh yeah, I saw that too. Man, I really don't know what's going to happen right now. It's about making your value proposition out of just being a voice of information and a voice of reason, which finally, now 25 minutes into this, and I know that I like to keep stuff like this short, these workshop calls. I don't like to keep you guys on the hook for the entire period of time. But what I would like to do is share just a little bit of what I had originally decided to talk about, but I decided to tweak everything out of it based on this whole thing. So what is like being education focused, being the person that's not going to try and be reactive as opposed to proactive in helping educate folks, helping be different, helping differentiate yourself, helping create value. What's that thing, right? And it's really your unique value. And it's how do you stand out the right way? I mean, we can all stand out. I can be the loud guy. I can talk about myself and I can say how awesome I am. I love doing that. Who doesn't? But what I'd rather do is showcase value to help people. And how you showcase value right now is quite frankly, how many times do a little personal check here. How many times have you guys been at a cocktail party and met somebody that you didn't know, or had been at dinner with some folks that you've never met before, and they say around the table, the introductions, here's Bob, he is an oncologist, here's Bill. What do you do, Bill? I sell real estate. How many times has that been the answer? Or I help people buy and sell real estate. How many times has that been the answer? Or you're at a party and it's like, well, what do you do for a living? I sell real estate. I'm going to ask, or at least charge everybody in the room right now, the virtual room, to flip the script on that, to figure out what helps make you different. There's a really interesting exercise to go through, and I challenge everybody to come up with and say it in 5 words. 5 words. No matter what those 5 words are, but what is it that you do differently in 5 words? Whether it's consumer-centric, value-added integrity. Well, that sounds like crap. That sounds like something that goes on a billboard. What is it that makes you different? If you can distill it down to 5 words or really 5 things, that's going to help you say, instead of I sell real estate to, well, you know, what I do is I help people who are struggling to find a first home from out of town and help them navigate the process of moving to a new city, and also navigate the process of buying a home for the first time, and help them understand and streamline the process. Or I help people that have moved on to their next station in life and are really wondering what they're going to do now that the kids are home. I specialize in helping them find that forever next home. Whatever that might be, it's really, what do you do? It's not, I sell real estate. Well, yeah, you and 17,000 other people in the Southeast. And oh, by the way, everybody knows all those people. I got a friend that's a realtor. Yeah, cool. If you didn't have a friend that was a realtor, I would assume you didn't have any friends, right? I mean, that's how do we change? What do we do from a commonplace answer, which it's not false. Yes, we help people buy and sell real estate. We help people. But what do we do to transition that from X to, you know what? I really don't know what it is about what Beth said the other day, or I really don't know what it is about what Carmen said the other day. I really don't know what it is, what Lee or Keith or Jenny said the other day, but shoot, I just need to call them. And how do we get into the position of consideration? So there's 4 main things, and like honestly, this is more of an educational exercise and a not really a homework proposition, but this is something for you guys to work on, to just test it out and see if you can gain more traction in your everyday conversations by just a slight 2-degree shift. I mean, first, we got to have all of the data down, right? That's an indisputable fact. The more information that we have, the more that we can share and educate people, the more that we can shut down folks that are talking heads that are getting in everybody's ears and in their hearts as a result of just trying to shake things up and be disruptive, right? Okay, so how are we disruptive? Well, number one is create the unique value proposition for you. Create your unique value proposition. Now, what does that really mean? It's essentially brainstorming on how you really do things differently. If you don't do things differently, then maybe perhaps what we need to do is we need to peel back the onion and take a look at what the client wants, right? We're all trying to be much more client focused. I think we can all agree that if we can figure out a way to help our clients and get in front of their needs and wants and desires, pleasures, pains, whatever, that would be a beneficial thing for everyone, right? So number one is to really brainstorm. It's really to create your unique value proposition. If you've got it not locked down, you are the queen or the king of a neighborhood, you really have that value proposition, I'd ask you to re-articulate what that is so you can deliver the what do you do? I do this. But if not, then maybe it might be a good option to brainstorm how to create that unique value proposition. And honestly, I'll get in a little bit more about that in just a second. I'll run through these and then we'll go back to that creating your unique value proposition, because I think there's a couple of key points in there that we can really focus in on for the client. But in the meantime, the second piece, just for the sake of brevity and sake of time, second piece is don't please everyone. You know, there's a million real estate transactions that happen in the United States on a yearly basis. A million. When we're looking to do 25, 50, 75, whatever it is that your goal is, whatever your number for transactions is, you don't need to do all 75 with people that drive you nuts, that keep you up at night, that do that you just really can't service at the end of the day. It doesn't function with your unique selling proposition. It just is what it is. We can't please everyone. And so hopefully that unique value proposition helps you focus on the people that you can help the most and get in front of more people that you would like to serve and work with. But understanding that of those million transactions that happen in the United States, the roughly 7,000 or 8,000 transactions that happen every half a year in GGAR, you don't have to be a part of all those because you're not everybody. So understand that value proposition doesn't need to please everyone. And the third one, the third thing, and this actually could be something that could help you on your way to creating that unique value proposition, which is, I say pattern problem solving, but what it is to create kind of a question and answer. So think about this, like what is your ideal client? What are they looking for? Or perhaps it's a recent transaction that somebody was in a sticky situation where they were having to move really fast and they moving into town, didn't really know the market, and there wasn't any inventory. It's like, well, hey, for example, you know how every time, or you know how recently there's just people are trying to find houses and they just can't really find anything that they want. And the other person would likely be like, well, yeah, I could, especially if they've been hunting for a house, they're going, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't find anything that fits the bill for me. Well, what I do and what we do as a company, or what I can leverage as a member of my company, or what I do personally, is I have both a physical network and a virtual network of 450 agents. I've got my own personal sphere in a neighborhood that I can help you get in touch with potentially coming soon listings or the shadow market. I can help you leverage the network of both personal market expertise, and I can leverage other people in my network to help them solve that problem of there's nothing out here for me to buy. All of a sudden that turns from I sell real estate to, well, you know how nobody can find a house that they want right now, and every single time that they want to go make an offer on a house, that just gets missed. Well, what I do, or what we do, is we help solve that problem by helping communicate with the rest of the realtor neighborhood and with my own neighborhood and my geographic farm to help get you in front of the house and you be first in line, not 12th to the table. That's what I do. That might not be what everybody does, but that's something that you can say, you know, hey, well, you know, what the problem is that most of the people that you're trying to help service are facing: more space, too much space, less, whatever that might be. What I do, or what we do, is the solution. So it's patterned problem solving. It's a question and answer situation that could help you get to creating that value proposition quicker, faster, better, stronger, et cetera. And the fourth thing, the final thing, is showing versus telling. Now, this is the thing that I used to do whenever I got a new listing, was have a neighborhood get together. It was a pick your neighbor party. Now, I know that that's not exactly kosher right now. And so my theory doesn't exactly work. Now, not everybody else is going to want to go do that. I mean, open houses, social media, pick your thing, because your thing is unique to you, but it's actually showing what goes on versus telling them about it, right? So for example, somebody has cold feet about whether or not they want to list a house, or they're also kind of nervous about listing a house. Just having an example, showing them about a time, showing them a time that you did X, Y, Z, or this is a thing that you do. Or maybe if you don't do this right now, maybe it's thinking about and brainstorming again what you could do consistently every single time. You know, it's not a one-off deal that, like, hey, I got a $2 million listing, so now we're going to go have wine and cheese on the patio. It's no, I don't care if it's a 900 square foot bungalow in Berea, we're doing wine and cheese on the patio. It might be Natty Light and crackers, but I mean, doggone it, if it's all the same thing, right? But it's this is my thing. Every time I get a listing, we have a little thing on the patio. Or if you don't have a patio, you know what? Folding chairs are pretty doggone useful, right? But it's have your thing and show them. Don't just tell them. Give them examples. It's not good enough anymore to just say, you know, I do videos and I do Matterport and I do 3D tours and I do all this. Yes, got it. Cool. Welcome to 2020. Things are upside down. How about you? It's just quite literally what I do consistently that I provide. It doesn't have to be all that different. You don't have to bring an elephant from oh no, Ringling Brothers is already done. So that's sad. That's a reference I shouldn't have made. You don't have to go out of this world. It's just something different, whether it's a in-person walkthrough tour that you post with everything, whether it's an open house strategy, whether it's a circle prospecting campaign that you have in the neighborhood. Every single time that you get a new listing, you get in contact with literally everybody up and down the road within a half-mile radius, whether it's the party, whatever it is, show them how you've done it and how you've done it in the past. If you haven't, come up with something that you think might work for you and then start doing it. So how do you go about the unique value proposition? It's got to be client focused. It has to be client focused. And essentially you start with, what are their pains? What are their problems? And also, what's the pleasure that they're trying to move towards? There's a whole lot of people in sales period, and especially in real estate, that talk about pushing on the pain points. Well, no, you identify what's bothering them, but you look for what they're moving towards. What a lot of people don't do is, what's the pleasure moving forward? Yes, right now, I hate the fact that I don't have a backyard okay. Ooh, Ooh, you don't have a backyard. Let's go find houses with a backyard. No, wrong. I hate the fact that I don't have a backyard because I have 2 dogs and a 5-year-old son, and I want space for them to be able to run and play. And I want him to have a swing set in his backyard. It's not, I hate the fact that I don't have a backyard. It's, I want room for my pets and my kid to play and feel free. Focusing on the pleasure point, you know, the old saying, you catch a whole lot more bees with honey or flies with honey than you do with vinegar. It's true. Totally true. What are their pains, their problems, but also what's the pleasure they're looking to move towards? The second question to ask yourself is, and this could be just buckets of different folks, different demographic, different ages, different parts of town, whatever it might be. What is it specifically that these folks are struggling with? The first-time home buyers, what are they struggling with? Is inventory high or is inventory low? Is financing super simple to obtain, or is it a little bit harder to get access to? Is it harder to find do they want turnkey ready property, or do they want a project? What are they struggling with? What are they not being able to find? And again, you look at the flip side of that. So that's what are they looking for? What are they looking for in both an agent as a representative? What are they looking for in property? What are they looking for in terms of a future? And the final piece that ties all that stuff together is really what makes you memorable. And you don't have to be, you don't have to show up I'm not talking about showing up to the listing presentation in a sequin suit and being like, wow, oh, that was the guy that showed up in a sequin suit. That's not going to last. It's what makes you really memorable. What about the experience, like the meet your neighbors party, or I'm going to really connect with all of the people in this day. As soon as we go live with this, I'm going to connect with all the people in our neighborhood to make sure that they know that your house is for sale and that I want them to have some input in helping me find the correct buyer for this home. Or I am going to do what makes you memorable about the experience. Like, you know why Ritz-Carlton gets to charge $650 a night for a hotel room? It's because they fall all over you as the minute you walk in the door. They'll do anything. There's an experience tied to that. You want to know why kids dream of going to Disney World? Because there's an experience tied to that. You know why people want to go to Daytona and why people want to go to the Masters? An experience, because there's an experience. Whether or not we know it, we are in the hospitality business. We might not be all that hospitable at some times because we got a job to do, but what makes you memorable? And I think a lot of that stems towards showing versus telling. It's what is it that we're going to do to help us make somebody else want to feel that same feeling that we give for a client during a transaction, that they're going to say, you should have seen what so-and-so did. It was so awesome. That's how it's going to make you stand out. You don't have to stand out a lot. You just have to stand out. With that being said, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to see if anybody wants to chat for a little while. Have any questions, any comments about, or just anything to discuss, both about Suze Orman's thing, current state of the market, and then also too, anything about the value proposition or anything anybody wants to share. I'll judge by silence that I've either done a terrible job or a decent one. But guys, I really, truly appreciate each and every one of you. And I hope you guys all have fantastic days. Please feel free to get with me if you need anything. And I'm right here for you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Richard.
I thought that was great.
Storm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Richard.
Thanks a bunch, y'all. Have a great rest of the day.